Hi everyone, in this video we are going to look at several natural deodorants that I have been testing over the course of several months and during the months of summer heat at that, so it's been a really good test of how these hold up with sweat and heat. There are a total of 6 natural deodorants and they are affordably priced. So if you're wondering what the best natural deodorant out there is for you, then this is the video for you to watch. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, follow Allura Beauty on Instagram. The Instagram giveaway is going to be running soon now that it's hit 1,000 followers. And if you haven't checked out the latest video, I will link that for you in the upper right-hand corner. Make sure you go check that out. All right, let's get jumping into my test and ranking of these 6 natural deodorants. So let's first talk about the brands that I chose and the factors that I looked at and kept in mind when I was testing these and comparing these. The 6 brands that I tested head-to-head against each other were Tom's, Kopari, Lavanila, Schmidt's, Native, and Zion Health. So of course the main thing with these is that they do not contain aluminum. I personally do not have any problem with that ingredient, and I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. On the other hand, I do try to balance my use of antiperspirants that have aluminum in them with more natural ingredient deodorants. And that typically means that in the cooler months, I will turn more towards the natural deodorants when I'm not sweating as much and don't need that antiperspirant effect. But since I was wanting to test these out and really test how they hold up in heat and with sweat, I kind of changed that pattern and I was testing these during the summer months. And then the second factor I looked at was for them to be affordable. Now that term means different things to different people, but basically I did a cutoff price of $15. So there are dozens of natural deodorant brands out there, but I did not test anything or include anything that had natural deodorants that were above $15. Some of these deodorants I have purchased with my own money. Some of them have been sent courtesy of brands. I will keep this level and unbiased, which is hopefully what you've come to expect if you have been a long-time viewer of this channel anyway. Now, the factors that I considered were A, price, so how many dollars per ounce, B, how long wearing the fragrance and odor fighting capability of the deodorant is. You know, natural deodorants get a bad rap because they typically don't seem to be as long wearing as non-natural deodorants. So of course, people are going to care a lot about that, as they should. C, the ease of use. Some of these have a formula that you may not be used to and require some different things that you may not be used to doing when applying a deodorant. And D, how transfer resistant they are, meaning what is the likelihood that you'll get some sort of powdery white streak on your clothes if you were to use a particular deodorant. So in this video, I will be applying each of these for you in real time. We will do some swipe tests on black shirts to see how well they resist transferring or show up. And based on my testing and experience, I'll tell you how long wearing they are. And of course, we'll do a price comparison. Before we start, real quickly, I'm gonna go over what I did to create this look today. The first thing I did was to do my hair, and I used a new product. This is by Slash. This is a waterless shampoo. It's really nice because they come in travel-friendly packaging. It's 2.8 ounces. It is a kind of spray slash pump, and it comes out as a liquid, and I sprayed it throughout the sections of my hair. And you spray it all over first, and then you go back in and you massage it in, and the formula absorbs oil, sweat, and buildup, and it's supposed to give you the effect of basically shampooing your hair without having to get in the shower and actually shampoo it. I think this is a great product. My hair, when I put this and applied this on, is 2 days after washing, so I last shampooed it Thursday night, and now it is Saturday night, just to give you some perspective. And if I haven't washed my hair the night before, I do get a little bit of oil and like greasiness. So this was wonderful at combating that. Now, I will say the first ingredient is alcohol. So I tried to make sure to not be rubbing it into my scalp because I don't really want all that alcohol to be in direct contact with my skin, but it is the ingredient that is effective at absorbing that oil. Then something I mentioned in the September What's New in Beauty video that I continue to be in love with and enamored with is by Color Wow. This is their Dream Cocktail Carb Infused infused kind of potion, and you take a couple pumps of this. You again put it into the roots. You can put it through the strands. You're supposed to apply it on damp hair, and it works more effectively that way. This time my hair is pretty much dry when I did it, but you blow dry it, you activate it with heat, and man, it gives you a ton of volume without feeling heavy or greasy. So once again, I have continued to use this and have been really enjoying this product. On my face, for my eye look, I used the Naked Honey palette by Urban Decay. If you have not seen swatches for this, make sure you go check out my video where I swatch all of the colors, as well as the lip plumpers, and I give you a review. The lowdown is I am in love with this palette. It's sitting right next to, on my vanity, the original Naked palette, which I also love, so I have been using them interchangeably. On my lips, I'm wearing one of the Haus Laboratory lip glosses. This is in the shade Venus, and like I mentioned at the beginning, if you haven't checked out that video yet, make sure you go see it. And for my highlight, I am using the highlighter from Max L Seed collection. This was a limited edition collection, and it is in the shade Dima's Glow. All right, let's first look at the, I think, truest drugstore option that I have in the lineup. That is Tom's. You are probably very familiar with this brand. It has been around for a long time. The one that I picked up, they have a couple different variations. The one that I picked up was the Tom's for Men in their like extra long wearing line that come in these blue tubes. They also have the more regular line in the white tubes. And the scent that I got is Mountain Spring. Now, of course, what I'm going to say in this video could vary depending on the scent that is purchased. So when I tell you that I am having certain thoughts about the product, it is based on the scent that I'm showing you, unless I've tested multiple scents, which I'll let you know because some of the brands I have tested out many of the scents. But for Tom's, this is the one that I reviewed. My thoughts may change if it had been a different scent. So that's the caveat for this one. But in any case, this is something that you can find at Target, Walmart, your local Walgreens, CVS, places like that. And because of that, the price is actually going to vary depending on where you purchase it, but it retails for anywhere between $4.84 was the cheapest that I found, up to about $7. I purchased it closer to the $7 range, and it contains 2.25 ounces. Now, if you go on Tom's website, you can see that there are about 20 different scents that you can choose from. So there's a nice wide variety. But of course, if you're going in person to the store, that also may vary. You probably won't have all 20 options available to you. So that's the price and how much you get. Let's move on to talking about the ease of use. This tube, as pretty much they all do, has a twisty bottom that pushes up the stick inside, and hopefully, as you can see, this is kind of a clear stick and it goes on super easily. It's like kind of almost like a gel feeling formula. It transfers super well. You don't have to heat it up. You don't have to drag it across the skin. So super easy to use. Let's go ahead and test out how well it resists transferring. So I'm gonna take a piece of black cloth. This is just from a black t-shirt that I have. And I'm going to swipe across a couple times. And hopefully you can see there is no apparent transfer there. And that's because this is a clear gel stick. So I've never had issues when putting on dark clothing with this showing up or smudging on any of my clothes. And last, let's talk about longevity. So the first thing that I will say is that I love this scent. I think of all of the scents that I've tested, this is one of my favorites, the Mountain Spring scent. It is quite masculine. I tend to lean towards more masculine smells. I don't like flowery, girly, female, quote unquote, scents that are marketed towards women. I tend to like more unisex or even masculine scents. This smells very fresh and I really like that. The problem is that of all the 6 deodorants, this is the least long wearing. I get pretty stinky even before and around lunchtime if I applied this in the morning. So even though I love the way this initially smells upon application, when I wear this, it is usually in a situation where I know I'm not going to have to wear it for a long time because I know that it does not effectively combat your natural body odor for more than a few hours. So this whole 24-hour protection thing not even close. So on price, this is very good. I think it's the most affordable per ounce of the 6 I will show you. So on price, it gets a 5. On transferability, it gets a 5 because it doesn't transfer. On ease of use, it gets a 5. But in terms of longevity, I would say I would give this a 1. Next up, let's talk about a deodorant that I featured in the September What's New in Beauty video. They were kind enough to sponsor that video, and I continued to test this and kind of compare them to the other deodorants. This is the Zion Health Clay Dry Deodorant. Their line of clay dry deodorants are available for purchase online. There are a total of about 21 scents available, and the one that I have mainly tested, although I have tried several of their other ones because they sent little sample sizes of I think 4 or 5 other scents. The main one that I have tested over and over and over is the Sweet Amber scent. Again, I love this scent. I would say it is pretty much on par with the Tom's scent. It's interesting because it's not super feminine, it's a bit powdery, but that amber gives it a warmth and a slight masculinity. So I would say this is more of a unisex scent. Now in terms of price, these are priced at $7.99 and you get 2.8 ounces in here. So again, very affordably priced. Now in terms of ease of use, this formula is pretty stiff. So what you have to do for this is you have to have the time and patience to stick it under your armpit or by some other method warm up the formula, because if you don't, it won't really transfer onto your skin. On the other hand, I found out after several rounds of testing that you do not need to apply a lot of this. So although you do need to warm it up to make it a little bit pliable, you at first think that you need to press really hard because it doesn't feel like something is transferring, but you'll learn that you don't actually need as much pressure as it feels like you do in order to get the deodorant to apply and for that scent to be on your skin. So I am using a significant more amount of pressure than with the Toms, because the reality is this doesn't transfer onto the skin as effortlessly as that one. In fact, of almost all of the other deodorants, this one is the most high maintenance to use. It's only a matter of maybe 30 more seconds to warm up the product, but if you are someone who really needs every minute in the morning, you're always running late, then that's something to consider with using the Clay Dry line. All right, so that's what the armpit looks like there. Hopefully this doesn't gross you out. If it does, this probably isn't the video for you, but that's what the deodorant looks like, or the stick looks like. So although it's not a powder, it's also not a clear gel like the Toms. Let's move on to the transfer test. I'm gonna do a couple swipes just like before. And can you see? There is a little bit of transfer. It's not a really apparent, stark, white, powdery kind of smear on there, but there is a little bit of transfer. I have never really noticed any sort of noticeable like white streak on my clothes when I have used this, but if you're someone who isn't going to want to take the time and care to kind of put your shirt on carefully, and you're going to wear something that's dark clothing, then just be aware that this might give you a little bit of a cast of a streak. Now, longevity. This is very long wearing. This is the most powerful in terms of longevity of all of the other brands that I have tried. This stays strong well through the day. You get a little bit of, you know, your own natural odor by the end of the day, but compared to all the other brands, this one stayed the strongest. It fought the odor the best. And remember again that I'm saying that about the Sweet Amber scent in particular, although testing the other scents like bourbon, there's a eucalyptus one, there's an oud one, they are all also very strong. So these are actually pretty closely priced when you break it down to dollars per ounce. So I'm also going to give this a 5 in terms of pricing. In terms of ease of use, I'm going to give this a 2.5 because it does take a little more effort and it doesn't spread as smoothly over the skin. In terms of longevity, it absolutely gets a 5. It was the most potent and long wearing of the brands that I tested. And in terms of transfer, I'm going to give it a 3.5. There's going to be a little bit of transfer if you really are rubbing some sort of material across the armpits, but otherwise you shouldn't have an issue. Third up is the brand Schmidt's. Now this one I think think is sponsored by Justin Bieber, or I know that he's on their website somewhere, which is very interesting. I've actually been testing this brand out, or been using this brand on and off for several years now. This brand has stick deodorants in like this form, and I have tested those out, so I'm familiar with them, but unfortunately I left that at my other location, so I don't have it to actually show you in this video physically. I am going to give you my thoughts on it from my experience using the stick form. I just don't have it to show you, unfortunately, right now. There are about 9 total scents available in this stick deodorant range, and they retail, depending on the scent, between $7.99 and $9.99, and you get 3.25 ounces. So of all of the brands, you get the most by far with the Schmidt stick deodorants. In terms of ease of use, this is also a stick that you need to warm up a little bit, and it has kind of a powdery, slightly grainy feel. It does not need as much pressure as the one from Zion Health does, but it does have a slight resistance to it when you're applying it. Now, if you were to purchase the ones that come in these glass jars, these are the most high maintenance to use because they do come with this little spatula. You take up some product here, you have to put it in your hand, and you have to warm it up between your palms, rub them together, and then you apply like so. And yes, I have wiped my armpits and cleaned them off in between application of different deodorants, just so you know. All right, so that's what the armpit looks like after application. Let's do our swipe test. 1, 2, okay, and hopefully you can see, similar to the Zion Health one, you do get a slight white cast. This one is a little more apparent than the one with Zion Health. And just so you know, the one in the pots, they don't have the exact same formula as the one in the sticks. Of course, they're very similar, but I will say that this is consistent with the testing that I've done for the ones in the sticks. They do give you a slight, not super apparent, but noticeable white streak if you have dark clothing. Now, in terms of longevity, this will vary slightly depending on the scents that you use. I have used the unscented version. I have used the bergamot and lime version. They have a ylang ylang version. They have a lavender and sage version. I think there's one more that I've tested, but I can't remember what the scent is at this moment. The unscented version obviously doesn't really combat odor. I know some people say that if you use them for a few weeks, then naturally you'll start to stop having body odor. I've never experienced that. That has never, unfortunately, happened with me, so I don't find that to be true. In the range, I would say the lavender and sage and the bergamot lime have been the longest wearing in terms of odor, but at the end of the day, overall, I would say that this has a medium level of strength. It will last very nicely through lunch, but by the end of the day, I do notice an amount of odor that I would not prefer. It's not as strong at the end of the day as you get with the Zion Health one. So in terms of price, even with the higher priced ones at $9.99, because you get 3.2 ounces, this gets 5 out of 5 for pricing. Ease of use, if these were the only forms of the deodorants that were available, I would give it probably a 2, but because they also have the stick version, I am going to give it a 3. And in terms of longevity, I am going to give it a 3.5. All right, next up, let's talk about Native. This actually, my experience with it is very similar to my experience with the Schmidt deodorants. There are about 15 scents available to you. Some of those are seasonal scents, so they go in and out. And the website divides the scents into for men and for women, which I don't really like because I, like I said, tend to go towards more masculine scents, and I don't really think there's a reason to divide it that way, but that is how it is. Now, in terms of price, these are priced at $12 and you get 2.65 ounces. Ease of use, you can see that these also come in stick form. Looks like this. Now, you may be able to tell just on screen. Sorry, it's kind of gross, but this is the reality of it. It is kind of messy. Because of the nature of the formula, it kind of gloops along the outer rim and onto the cap, and I don't have that experience with the Zion Health one. Now, in terms of application, once again, I let this warm up just a little bit because it does have a bit of resistance when you apply it, but it's not as stiff as the Zion Health one. So there you go. Now, can you see? That's what it looks like. You can kind of see some little gloop spots there. So I tend to do this to kind of rub it in and not have little gloopy splotches on my underarm. So while not super time consuming or difficult to use, I think the formula is thicker. It is not like a gel and effortless the way the Tom's one is. Let's do our transfer test. 1, 2. And this one has pretty apparent transfer on it. And you can kind of tell from the white kind of powdery nature of even how the stick looks and how it feels going on that it will give a white cast if you're wearing dark clothing. So this one has the most apparent white cast, or ties for the most apparent white cast of all of these. Now, in terms of longevity, the main scent that I wear is the mint or eucalyptus and mint scent, which I really like. It smells really nice. I also have the unscented one, but clearly this is the one that I use most to combat that odor. And this does pretty well. I would say it's on par with the longevity of the Schmidt deodorant. So again, well through lunch, I still feel pretty fresh. By the end of the day, I'm like, I probably want to reapply this or make sure that I am not putting my armpit in anyone's face. There is a good amount of longevity on this, but not the best or most long wearing of the 6. So in terms of price, this is definitely more pricey than the ones we've looked at so far. So I will give this a 4. In terms of ease of use, I would give this more of like a 2.5. For transfer, I would probably give it a 1.5. It's not as bad as some of your traditional stick deodorants that you get in the supermarket that are the non-natural kind, but it's one of the most apparent of the 6 that I tried. And in terms of longevity, I would give this a 3.5, pretty much the same as with the Schmidt deodorants. Next up is Lavanila. This is also a brand and a company that I have been using on and off for several years now. Actually, same thing with the native deodorants. There are about 13 cents of the Lavanila deodorants that you can choose from. So in terms of price, these retail for between $12 and $14, depending on the scent, and you get a total of 2 ounces. So you can see more expensive than the other ones that we've seen so far. This also comes in a tube, but it is a cylindrical tube. That's what the deodorant looks like. I've also tested out at least 4 different scents in this line, probably more. The one that I have been testing for the purpose of this video mainly is the scent in Vanilla plus Earth. So ease of use, let's go ahead and test this out. Armpits are getting a little bit irritated just from doing multiple swipes. So this one, I don't feel the need to warm it up because it transfers very nicely, although it's not quite as effortless as the gel formula Tom one. All right, here's what the armpit looks like. No gloopiness there. Let's do our swipe test. And there you can see the transfer there. Also pretty noticeable. It's just slightly less noticeable than the transfer you get with the native deodorants. And it doesn't have as thick of a formula, and it doesn't have those gloops that you get when you first apply. In terms of the longevity, I would say this is another one that is holding pretty strong by lunchtime, but by the end of the day, the body odor that comes through is more apparent than what you would get with either native or Schmidt's. So not quite as long wearing as those. So in terms of price, I would give this one a 3 because it's more expensive than any of the ones we've seen and you get less than any of the other ones we've seen. But in terms of deodorants out there on the market, natural deodorants, it's still quite affordable. Ease of use, I would give this a 4. Not the most effortless like with the Toms, but doesn't really tug at the skin, doesn't need you to warm it up. Longevity, I would say this one is at a 3, or maybe a 2.5. And for transfer resistance, I would say this is at a 2 to a 2.5. And last up is Kopari. This is something that I purchased from Sephora, but of course they have their own website and they're available on other website retailers too. They have a total of 5 scents that are available. Now, these are priced at $14 and you get 2 ounces. So definitely the most expensive of the 6 that I tested. In terms of ease of use, just like with the Lavanila one, same kind of packaging, but you can see that it's not that powdery white look. So this one, just like the Tom's one, it has more of like a gel feel to it and it applies effortlessly. So no need to warm it up, no need to rub it in. Let's do the last swipe test of the video. And on this one, you basically also cannot see anything in terms of transfer. Now, if you looked really closely, you could tell there's a very slight something there, but it's pretty much non-visible. And in terms of how long wearing this is, I forgot to tell you which scent. This is the original scent that I have been testing. This lasts for a good long while. It is not quite as long lasting as the one from Zion Health, but it definitely has a more noticeable odor fighting capability than with the Lavanila, Schmidt, or the native one, and definitely with the Tom's one, because we know that one doesn't last very long. So yes, there is some body odor that shows through by the end of the day, but it's not quite as offensive as with most of the other ones. So in terms of price, I have to give this a 2 because it's the most expensive out of all of these. Ease of use is a 5. Longevity, I would say it's a 4. And transfer, it is also a 4 or 4.5. So at the end of the day, I would say the winners are these 2, the Kopari one and the Zion Health one. The main advantage of the Zion Health one is the price point. It is super affordable, and the range of scents that you can choose from, and of course the very long wearing odor fighting power that it has. But the advantage of the Kopari one, even though it is more expensive, is that it is easier to use. It's more effortless. It has that gel texture that doesn't have any sort of transfer or barely any transfer, and it glides across the skin really effortlessly. So those are the pros and cons, just more of a personal preference, or if you have super sensitive skin or what your daily morning routine is like, those may be the factors that make or break it for your decision on which one to get over the other. All right, I hope that video was interesting and fun for you to watch. If you have any other suggestions of super affordable natural deodorants that you really love, that tick off all of the boxes that we talked about in this video, please leave a comment in the comment section below and leave your recommendations there. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in the next video.